Coming up on Arirang News, President Trump returns to the White House after treatment in hospital, telling Americans not to be afraid and not to let COVID-19 dominate their lives. He'll keep getting treatment as a growing number of staff catch the virus too. Kim Jong-un calls on all of North Korea to go on an 80-day campaign until the end of the year to achieve the goals of the latest 5-year plan, which Kim admits is not so far panned out. And South Korea and Japan agree to allow business trips to resume between them without the need for a 14-day self-isolation if the traveler tests negative for COVID-19. It's 5 p.m. here in Seoul. Thanks for tuning in to Arirang News. I'm Devin Whiting. President Trump is back at the White House after just 3 days in hospital for COVID-19 treatment. He tweeted a video saying he's in good shape, and his top doctor also assured the public that the president's condition is improving, but he will continue to get medical care while in quarantine. Min Soo-kyun has the latest.
President Trump posted a video message after arriving at the White House on Monday evening. He thanked Walter Reed Medical Center for their care and called on the public not to be afraid of the virus, saying that the U.S. has the best medicines.
And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune, I don't know. But don't let it dominate your lives. Get out there, be careful. We have the best medicines in the world.
Upon arrival at around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, he stood on the balcony to pose for a picture where he gave reporters a double thumbs up as a sign of his good health. However, medical staff say that the president is taking antiviral and steroid treatment as he may still have an active case of the virus. While in quarantine at the White House, he's expected to receive an unprecedented level of care for COVID-19, according to his physician.
Though he may not entirely be out of the woods yet, the team and I agree that all our evaluations, and most importantly, his clinical status, support the president's safe return home, where he'll be surrounded by world-class medical care 24/7.
Trump's return to the presidential residence is viewed as troublesome as the White House has become a contagion hotspot with many of his staff testing positive. Among the infected is White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, who said in a statement on Monday that she has the virus but is experiencing no symptoms. So far, at least a dozen people, including Trump's close aides, campaign staff, and senators, have been diagnosed with COVID-19. Meanwhile, Trump has a series of presidential debates lined up ahead of the upcoming election on November 3rd. It's unclear whether Trump will be on stage with Joe Biden in the debate next week. Min Soo-kyun, Arirang News.
The health authorities in the U.S. have officially acknowledged that COVID-19 can be transmitted through particles in the air, not just water droplets. These particles, it says, can linger for minutes or even hours. Also, a study has found that 1/3 of patients experienced some sort of altered mental function, which often lingered after they were discharged. Our Han Sung-woo has the details.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Monday, local time, admitted that COVID-19 can spread via airborne transmission under certain circumstances. The agency revealed that evidence shows some patients had infected others more than 6 feet, or roughly 180 centimeters, apart in enclosed spaces that lacked ventilation, confirming wide concerns that aerosols lingering in the air can indeed be contagious. They noted that a number of these carriers were breathing heavily at the time, for example, while singing or exercising. Scientists believe that under such conditions, the amount of infectious small droplets and particles produced by infected people became concentrated enough to spread the virus to others. The CDC's new guidelines come weeks after they published and then controversially took down a similar warning on their website, sparking debate over how the virus spreads. Meanwhile, a study conducted by the Northwestern Medicine Health System on 509 COVID-19 patients in the Chicago area has concluded that nearly 1/3 of them suffered from altered mental functions, known as encephalopathy. With symptoms ranging from confusion to delirium and even unresponsiveness, these 162 patients stayed 3 times as long in the hospital as those who did not suffer from such conditions. The affected were also found to be nearly 7 times as likely to die from the virus. The study did not identify a cause for the encephalopathy, but experts suspect the symptoms might be triggered by inflammatory and immune system responses. 한성우, Arirang News.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has called on his ruling Workers' Party and all of North Korea to take part in an intense campaign until the end of the year to achieve the regime's 5-year economic plan. Time is up for the plan next year, and Kim admitted that so far its goals have not panned out. Kim Dami reports.
Chairing a politburo meeting of the ruling Workers' Party, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un launched what he dubbed an 80-day campaign until the year's end. The campaign aims to fully prepare for the 8th Congress of the ruling party scheduled for early next year. The North's state-run news agency said Tuesday that the remaining days until the 8th Congress of the party is a period of year-end struggle. It further highlighted the decision was made to glorify the 75th founding anniversary of the party this Saturday as a great festival of victory and progress. The ambitious campaign is seen as a part of Pyongyang's regular systematic efforts to refresh the attention of its people and military.
The North's economy last year and this year did not do well overall. There's been no improvement for various reasons, including the international sanctions and the COVID-19 pandemic. People in North Korea could be unhappy, so the leader's trying to deal with that and clear the air.
Back in August, Kim acknowledged that his 5-year economic development plan had failed to achieve its intended goals. He then pledged to come up with a new one in the party Congress set to meet in January 2021. During the Politburo meeting, Lee Byung-chul, vice chairman of the party Central Committee, and Park Jong-chun, chief of the General Staff of the North's Army, were also officially promoted to head the North's military. Known for his deep involvement in the regime's nuclear and missile development, Ri has been actively demonstrating a willingness to strengthen the regime's defensive power ahead of this weekend's anniversary. He has also shown leadership in typhoon recovery projects. After visiting a flood-hit border village with her brother Kim Jong-un last week, Kim Yo-jong was also present at the meeting. Kim Dami, Arirang News.
The South Korean government is set to introduce a bill to Parliament on Wednesday that will make abortions legal for pregnancies under 14 weeks. Currently, abortions are against the law at any stage. The bill would also allow abortions at up to 24 weeks in cases of rape or when the mother's health is at risk. The legislature faces a deadline of year's end set by the Constitutional Court to pass a new abortion law after the existing ban was ruled unconstitutional. The court ruled that the ban violated women's rights. Some activists, however, say the stage-based proposal doesn't go far enough to protect women's rights. Starting Thursday, South Korea and Japan are going to allow business travel to resume between them for the first time in 7 months. Seoul's foreign ministry said this afternoon that they will set up 2 separate tracks, one for business and one for residents. Business people will be able to make short trips without spending 14 days in quarantine if they test negative for COVID-19 and submit required documents. For those staying longer, they can travel on the residents track but do have to self-isolate for 2 weeks. Time now for an in-depth look at the market news this afternoon, and for that, I'm joined on the line by Mr. Daniel Yu, global strategist at Yuanta Securities. Mr. Yu, thank you for making time today.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, big gains on Wall Street overnight with President Trump leaving the hospital, also anticipation of new stimulus and so on. The Dow up 1.7%, to the S&P 1.8%. What's the story in the global markets?
Yes, as you said, Dow Jones gained about 1.7%, and also S&P climbed about 1.8%. And particularly the NASDAQ, a lot of people were worried about, actually jumped by more than 2.3% yesterday. Clearly, the Donald Trump tweeting on Saturday that he'll be coming out of the hospital and he's improving, and that news actually resulted into quite of uncertainty removing. Also, if you look at the fiscal policy side, the President Trump have said that we need to pass this bill as soon as possible in order to help the American citizens. And we think that some kind of agreement will be held quite soon, and it's just wording in regards to the agreement. And so before the election actually happens, we think that the fiscal policy will go through, and that will result into probably better uncertainties removing, and that results into probably further rise of the overall equity market. If you look at the presidential election side, continuously that the Biden seems to be winning in terms of the percentage chance of winning, and that resulting into further lesser uncertainties, and the volatility seems to be quite low, and that overall market seems to be in a rising trend so far.
And the Kospi also rising today on some of the same news, it would seem. Retail investors taking a little profit today, though. What happened in the local markets?
Right. I think a lot of people were worried that after the Chuseok holiday, the symptoms for the COVID-19, the infection might be happening at a higher scale due to the long holidays. But it seems that the numbers are coming down below 100, and it came in at 66 additional infections locally. And clearly that means that the disease control seems to be doing a good job, and that the domestic consumption is picking up in a right speed. That is helping out the overall Kospi to rise by about 0.34%. The Kosdaq was up also by 0.49%. Also, if you look at the IHS Markit South Korea manufacturing PMI numbers, it came in at 49.8, still below 50, but one of the highest number that we have seen in the last several months. And that clearly indicates that the better business expectation is happening. The optimism and all that is resulting into better pace of economic growth. If that's the case, we think that the Kospi will have further rise in the future. On a relative basis, Kospi looks much better relative to any other emerging market in terms of the economic number as well as valuation. So we think that the uncertainties removed from the U.S. side will have positive implications for Kospi.
Well, now on another note, we see in September, consumer prices in Korea were up 1% from a year earlier. This is the biggest increase we've seen in inflation since March, but it's still on the low side. Tell us about that and what stands out to you.
Right. I think that if inflation numbers goes up to 2% plus, that would be quite worrisome that the interest rate will rise quite rapidly and the BOK might have to raise interest rate, and that will have a very negative implication for Korean equity market. But however, though, the numbers are coming in around 1%, but it is slightly higher than expectation of 0.7%. The number that's coming out that showed quite a significant rise is in regards to the food numbers. Clearly, that's because of a lot of the weather implication that we saw recently. But as far as the non-food products, it decreased by 1.5%. So all in all, inflation number seems to be reasonably okay. As long as the inflation number remains at around 1% level, we think that the eased monetary policy can continue. That means huge liquidity will have further implication for the overall equity market, and higher liquidity equals higher equity market in the future. So we will watch closely in terms of what happens to consumer price, but hopefully it will remain at around 1% level, not going up to 2% level.
Got it. All right, Mr. Yu, thanks so much for sharing your insights today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
The South Korean government has launched a task force to improve working conditions for those in jobs deemed essential to society, like healthcare, delivery services, and sanitation. Announcing the plan on Tuesday, Vice Finance Minister Kim Yong-bum said the task force will work to expand occupational health and safety insurance and implement a maximum 52-hour work week. The workers it seeks to help have had to risk working face-to-face with people in the pandemic. Separately, food delivery companies and similar platforms held a forum Tuesday with their employees, where they agreed to improve conditions for delivery workers and to demand the government reform related laws. Under current law, these delivery workers would not be recognized legally as a party to labor negotiations. But in their agreement, the two sides acknowledged that they do have a labor management relationship. South Korea's top search engine Naver has been issued a fine of almost 27 billion won, or about $23 million for manipulating search results to block its competitors and mislead consumers. The fine was handed down Tuesday by the Korea Fair Trade Commission, which said Naver had manipulated online shopping and video search algorithms to its own benefit. It's the first time a company's been fined for such an offense. The trade watchdog said Naver used the algorithms from 2012 until this August. Naver's share of the search market for online shopping in South Korea is around 70%. K-pop superstars BTS are number 2 this week on the Billboard Hot 100 with their latest hit Dynamite. It's been 6 weeks since the song debuted at number 1, where it stayed 3 weeks in a row. It dipped to number 2 and then returned to number 1 in a surprise last week. BTS are the first Korean artist to top the Billboard chart. Last week on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, it was BTS Week, which saw the band deliver a series of performances, interviews, and sketches. And that brings us to the end of this newscast. Thank you for watching. More live news coming your way at 7 p.m. Korea time.